and Ruthless Aggression. Now, you were a child during the Attitude Era. I mean, we're talking 12, maybe 11. So, 1990, technically 1997 is the start of the Attitude Era. So you were like 12. No,
Prime kid shit.
no, you were no, 88. You were 9. Fuck. Yeah, you were 9 years old during that time period. But I'm sure you have your fair share of Attitude Era memories.
Mostly.
Right? Mostly. Right. I'm probably going to have to refresh you on Ruthless Aggression in a minute.
Refresh me. I don't think I watched most of any of it at all.
No, I think
to be honest with you.
I think you did.
I know of John Cena. I'm sure there were a few moments that I remember, but for the most part, I was kind of out of wrestling around that time.
Okay. Well, see, and here's the thing with that, right? So, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he was, oh man, this guy is a huge Attitude Era guy. I mean, it's always the same conversation. And he's like,
That's a little weird, though.
It's so loaded, right? It was one of the best. Wait. I just realized what you said weird?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
What's weird about it?
How old is he?
My age.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. I've come to the conclusion. Okay, hold on. Before I prejudge with that, does he watch wrestling today? Like, is he considered a wrestling fan?
Yes.
Or is he one of those guys that doesn't watch and he reminisces about it?
He's as obsessed as I am. He's watched every Raw, every SmackDown.
Okay, then that's fucking weird. Then I stand on that fucking weird. That's weird. It's weird. Like, at some point you gotta grow up. Like, I understand why it was good, but anyway, go ahead.
You're saying that it's weird because of the nostalgia factor. Like, he's taking that one period and he's still even
at
today
some point it's just like to say it's the best is kind of ridiculous.
So I don't believe Attitude Era is the best era, and I grew up in that area. I actually also I'm very on the line when it comes to the Ruthless Aggression Era as well. But the way that the conversation started, it was really amping up the Attitude Era. And it was a group conversation, but he was dominating because he was trying to get his point across about the Attitude Era. When I said, not only I don't think Attitude Era is the best era, I don't think it was better than the Ruthless Aggression Era, which is the era that preceded it. Right? So the official Attitude Era time was from 97 to about 02, and then 02 to about 08. So it's about I want to say 5. Let me see, 97, 98, 99, 2001, 2002. About 6 years each. So it's an even amount of time. And, of course, after 97 started the PG era, which is a whole other conversation for a whole other day. And then for it going in the opposite direction. Not awesome, but like a weak time period in WWE. But the WWE is broken up into two worlds when it comes to older fan bases, and it comes to the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. And a lot of times, whenever people make an argument for the Attitude Era, it's always the same argument every time. The ratings were super high, which is kind of right. I mean, they always point to that one Raw that had literally an 8.3 or some shit. Like that one Raw that was mega high. And it was it had the most visible stars, right? An era that had the biggest stars. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley. It was nonstop. And I said, no, please continue. No, go ahead. Please continue. Go down the rest of the roster. I'd like to hear it. And he really could. I mean, hardcore
he
fan.
Didn't pick up that was a trap.
He didn't pick up on it because
he fell for it.
He fell for it because because then he started naming people. Once you get past those 6, right? Triple H, you could throw Shawn Michaels in there, right? Once you get past those names, it starts to get really fucking thin. And I'm like, okay, your era, if I'm arguing for the Ruthless Aggression Era, I will say this. The Attitude Era maybe had larger-than-life stars. If you compare Attitude Era's top stars to Ruthless Aggression's top stars, you might have an argument based on that rating argument that he had. That's why he was saying they were the most visible, the biggest stars, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin was a household name. When Steve Austin was on top, everything was 316. It was on The Simpsons. It was on South Park. It was on television. It was pop culture. It was cool. The Rock was the same way. If you smell what The Rock is cooking with the eyebrow and all that stuff. I get it. But you had an era that had really high star power, and then on the opposite end, really low star power. It was feast or famine in the Attitude Era. You were either on every lunchbox in school, or people in the wrestling business didn't fucking know you were in WWE. It was.
Yeah, but can I counter that though?
Sure.
Not counter, but to make a point, I think the reason why it felt that way because of the era itself. If the Attitude Era was in the era of today with all the exposure, I don't think it would have. That would have been a poor argument because the weakness of the roster would have just been way more exposed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to feel big when you're on TV. Like, what is it? How much were they on TV? Once or twice a month? Or no, I'm sorry, like 4 times, 5 times
the
a
Raws,
month.
yeah.
Pay-per-views and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot easier to feel like your roster is full of 4 guys when you're not on that much. But when you're doing as much publicity as these guys, you gotta have a mid card. You can't do that shit. Yeah. Like, say what you want about Roman, he can't carry the whole company every single like you're just gonna get bored of him.
Right.
So that's just my point to that. Like, I think you felt that way because it was the exposure was much smaller.
Yeah, the exposure was much smaller. You're talking about an era of wrestling that didn't have a strong internet, right? Not an internet like we have today, where it was like you had
not even fucking close.
Yeah, you had internet, but it wasn't like your life lived.
It was the start. It was baby internet.
Baby internet.
New.
Baby internet. There wasn't. You know, this is funny. People forget this. They have revisionist history when it comes to this. There wasn't even a lot of TV options. We didn't have 1,000 channels like we have now on cable networks. You only had a certain amount of high-profile television networks that had hit or miss quality television.
Prime time TV, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like those hours that people fought for, because that's when people watch television. Yeah. It's like very small portions of the day.
Yeah, they did great numbers because they had a great product. I'm not going to disrespect them and say that they didn't, but there wasn't a whole lot of competition either. You know, it's like
not in that genre.
No, whenever Monday Night Raw would come on, the conversation when it comes to ratings with WWE always was the football games, right? So it was like, well, who's playing on Monday Night Football? That's going to help determine the rating because Monday Night Football might take some viewership away, or whenever they would leave the USA for on Monday for a specific day because of the Westminster Dog Show, you know, like when they did the Dog Show and all of a sudden Raw has to be on Wednesday or Saturday for some fucking reason. And like shit like that. It wasn't immediate competition. Even when in the Attitude Era, which is another argument that he brought to the table, the Attitude Era also hosted the Monday Night War. Now, I'll give you that. That's probably your strongest argument for the Attitude Era was the Monday Night War. Nitro versus Raw every week was a goddamn race to the finish. I'll give you that. But competition from another company doesn't help an argument when it comes to which one was the better era for one company.
Yeah, I don't think that's era-based. That's not an argument for the era, yeah. I don't think. That's a moment in time.
It happened.
Any era could have fallen into that situation. It just so happened to be that one. I don't think it's a comment to the Attitude Era specifically.
Yeah, that's something that happened during the era, but it doesn't define that era for this company. You know what I mean? Like
right.
That was something that helped, you know, with the interest, maybe, perhaps, but I remember during that time when it happened, yes, there were people, like, for instance, today, right? People go, I don't understand why there's any gatekeeping at all. You could be an AEW fan. You could be a WWE fan. You could be both. Who cares? In the 90s, we cared.
Oh, it was a problem.
You had WCW. Yep. You had WCW fans. You had WWE fans. That's just what it was. So the WWE,
like Crips and Bloods, man. Yes. You see somebody with an NWO shirt,
yeah,
it's on site.
Now you pull that DX shirt out of the closet real fucking quick, and and it affected the ratings. For as strong as ratings as both show had, imagine if we lived in a world where fans didn't give a shit about allegiances and watched both. It would have been even more tremendous. Now, when compared to, say, like the Ruthless Aggression Era. So when people say, well, the Attitude Era had a great roster, which it didn't. Not top to bottom, it didn't. Not in comparison to the Ruthless Aggression Era. And I told him right off the bat, because he goes, okay, so what's your argument? Well, my argument is this. First and foremost, the Ruthless Aggression Era, their top stars, or at least guys they had on top that rotated around, were all your stars. Stone Cold performed in the Ruthless Aggression Era. Shawn Michaels had a better run in the Ruthless Aggression Era than he did in the Attitude Era. Triple H was a bigger star in Ruthless Aggression than he was. The Undertaker was a bigger star in Ruthless Aggression than he was in the Attitude Era. So that's all rip. Then you introduce in 2002 John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista, Brock Lesnar. And then you skip ahead a few more years. The Miz becomes a big star. Here comes a new generation, a CM Punk, Kofi Kingston. It seemed like every year there was an introduction and an influx of more and more people who would later go on to become absolute fucking studs and legends. Edge debuted in the Attitude Era. Didn't become a star until the Ruthless Aggression Era, when he became the world champion for the first time in 2005 and then became the ultimate opportunist. The Hardy Boys were a great tag team, a trifecta in the Attitude Era with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian and the Hardys became absolute fucking legends in the Ruthless Aggression Era. So that's off rip. And now you're also talking about a time in WWE where they were so talent heavy, we had a brand split. They didn't have that in WWE. They barely had enough talent for the one show. We had two. We had Raw and SmackDown. And do you remember that draft that they had, that first draft? It was like Rock on SmackDown, Steve Austin on Raw, Taker on SmackDown.
It was a big deal.
For fuck's sake.
It was a big deal.
We had the SmackDown 6, Kurt Angle, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero. I mean, that's all on one brand. Rob, the influx of ECW talent in the Ruthless Aggression. So now we've got RVD, the Dudleys, we've got Tommy Dreamer. I mean, just every WCW cast out with actual talent. The whole Ruthless Aggression from top to bottom was we had young top talent, mid card top talent, high card top talent. It was just across the board. The ratings argument also doesn't work because while the Attitude Era had better ratings, obviously we just illustrated why that was. There wasn't a whole lot of options. The Ruthless Aggression Era, 2002 to about 2008, that is a technological upswing from 2002 to 2008. Just look at how cell phones looked from 2002 to 2008. just that tech alone. The internet.
It's a big deal, too.
Yeah, the internet usage. Now we've got all kinds of different tech, all different ways to not only read your news about wrestling or read articles about wrestling, you're watching wrestling on your phone now in 2008, which is a whole new level of shit. We've got TiVo, we've got DVR, all kinds of shit's happening in the Ruthless Aggression. And the ratings stayed pretty much the same. There wasn't the highs and lows of the Attitude Era. The Ruthless Aggression Era, are you kidding me? That fucking time period is fucking ridiculous. Look at the cards. Look at the fucking... One of my favorite... I think... let me see if I can... while I'm talking, let me see if I can get the exact time that it happened. It was a Backlash show. And it was Shawn Michaels, Edge... Randy Orton, John Cena. Which one was that one? That one was, I got it here. It was a Backlash. It doesn't give me the year, though, that it was a Backlash. This was a Backlash main event. I can't remember what year it was. It might have been 05, 06, or something like that. It was John Cena, who was the WWE champion, defending against Randy Orton, Edge, and Shawn Michaels at the time. To this day, it's a standout match for me because of that finish. That finish is one of the most convoluted. Like, you got to be a fucking professional to pull that shit off. And that is all a product of that era. Stone Cold Steve Austin, all the respect in the world. The Rock, The Undertaker, those guys had badass matches. Those guys had badass finishes. But they couldn't do that with everybody. You know, for every Stone Cold Steve Austin, there was a Gangrel. For every Undertaker, there was a fucking Sultan. No disrespect to Rikishi, but that was a terrible fucking gimmick. They had a lot of those. I know we laugh about it now, but the way they treat it like Kai and Tai, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, they had to go back and watch some of those Rumbles from like 97, 98, 99, Tiger Ali Singh. You know, there's a lot of fucking guys from that era that were just, let's be honest, they were just fucking there. Like you said, you got to put something on the fucking card. But Ruthless Aggression Era, top to fucking bottom. Those cards were fun. They also, not for nothing, I don't know if this helps or it hurts, but at least the Ruthless Aggression Era did have some form of a women's division. Not what it would end up being, but it was definitely the start of that. I know we don't look too kindly on the Divas. We sat here and shit on them during the Hall of Fame speeches with Michelle McCool. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Diva era was the greatest era ever, but it existed. What was the women's division in the Attitude Era? Sable and Jacqueline. And that's it. It was just Sable and Jacqueline. And then we got Miss Kitty. And then the other Tori that isn't Tori Wilson. And I remember BB. No love for BB. Nobody else remembers BB. Those big ass booblage. Oh my God. Her titties were massive. I couldn't get over it. I was a young, impressionable child. I was hoping all titties would be that size. Little did I know. Those were not natural titties. Those were store-bought. I didn't realize they weren't homegrown. I was too young at the time to tell the difference. I thought to myself, man, are all titties like that? I can't wait to become an adult. Then I became an adult and was like, aw. It's depressing. But yes, this is a long list. So the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression, they have their ups, they have their downs, but I'm going to stand by my guns. I really do feel like the Ruthless Aggression was the better era. I don't think it's the greatest era ever. That's still up for debate, but, you know, I feel like the Attitude Era gets fetishized. Like, it's almost like it's that one era that happened in time. And I think you hit it with a culture, like the 90s as a whole, I feel like has this aura about it where it was just
that's
like,
where a lot of the things that we live with today was kind of like just coming out.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people who think back on the 90s of like this magical
like
time.
Video games. Some of the greatest moments were around that time. The fucking the wrestling, sports was at a high. Super Bowl was huge. Like everything was just kind of like getting crazy around. Like I see the late 90s, 2000s as like the very early stages of like what we live with day to day today. Cell phones coming out, TVs getting bigger, like just everything that we have today that have been improved started around that time. So I don't think it's too crazy for people who grew up in that to be like, man, that was the fucking best. Because you still had that simplicity while getting something insane, right? Like those flat screen, remember a flat screen TV? Seen one of those things for the fucking first time? It's like, oh, it's so cool. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it was that middle age between simplicity and like not having a lot to where like very techie and advanced.
Yeah, man.
That's why people feel that way.
Yeah, you bring up like even in sports, right? That's the Michael Jordan era. In baseball, that's the home run era when they were doing the chase. You know, in news, that's when Bill Clinton was getting blowies in his office.
Yeah, dude, there's all kinds. The 90s, early 2000s,
weird time, bro.
Great, no, not weird, amazing.
You know what I mean? Weird makes it sound bad.
I just hope the kids today have that. You know what I mean? I'm sure they do.
Well, they got
in their own way.
Yeah, these kids have the Diddy situation and R. Kelly went to jail finally, and that's the news portion. There's sports. They have Caitlin Clark. They got the.
I feel like this generation or whatever generation that like you would call it. I feel like they're the era of like never leaving high school.
This current one.
Yeah, well, current and like maybe one or two back too, like with the Vines and the YouTubes and the TikToks and stuff.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's high school shit. And it's like you leave high school, but you never really leave high school because you're just like around. You can still see the people. Remember leaving high school and just never fucking seeing those people again?
Yeah.
Even some people be like, yo, I can't wait to never see these motherfuckers again. It's just like you don't shake that nowadays. I don't think so. People's presence online, stuff like that. If you have friends of a friend who knows somebody, you see their shit too. I don't know, I just feel like you never leave high school.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I was talking about this with a buddy of mine the other day. I said, what's funny about this generation? Back in the day, when you left, like in your scenario, right? When you left high school or when you got older, you just kind of fell out of relationships. Like it wasn't like a negative thing. You just, you start hanging out with a different crew or whatever the case may be, right? You just kind of fall out of relationships. In today's society, if you lose track of a friend, if you lose connection to somebody, that shit was a choice. That was a choice. They could follow you if they wanted to. They don't want to.
Even if you don't want, they see what you're doing.
It's like it is. They are making a conscious decision to not fuck with you anymore. I think that hurts way more than the shit that we were doing. Because at least before, like it was hard to reach people.
No, literally, you're just like, remember the awkward. Hey man, what's up, dude? I haven't seen you in a long time. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
like, man. Nowadays it's like, oh, dude, you haven't accepted my friend invite. I saw you went to the beach the other day with your friends. It's like, dude, fucking
God damn.
I'm gonna accept you just to block you, dude.
Yeah,
so you can't fucking see nothing.
Just so I can pinpoint exactly the assholes who shouldn't be seeing my shit. Yeah, that's another thing. I know it's hard for people to believe because I post so much, but I post a lot of my podcast stuff. I post a lot of my wrestling stuff. I don't post a lot of me and my family. There are some people who they post every fucking thing online. Every fucking thing.
I don't know how people post their kids and stuff like that. Yeah. Like even to this day, I'm not sure, but even to this day, I think my wife has never really made a post about our daughter. She's made the timed ones, like whatever you call those, where you like see them and then they go away eventually.
She's done a few stories of you guys like at the park or something.
Stuff like that. Yeah. But they're not like sitting up on a wall or anything like that. She pointed that out to me not too long ago. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen you make up. She's like, fuck no. I'll show people a snippet of what we're doing and that shit goes away. Like that's it. It's not fucking you can't just be watching what I'm doing. No, people will post their whole ass kids from birth.
Their whole ass kids. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We got people now live streaming and doing TikToks at the delivery room. It's insanity. It's insanity to me. I don't know. Back in my day, no.